The item specifically says receive and file, but we'd also seek direction for approval to move forward with this feasibility study, please.
At this time, may I have a motion?
Cortez,
I'll
move
go
to
ahead and
approve.
I'll second Flores' motion.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Barcena,
Yes.
Cortez,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez,
Yes.
and Mayor Polito.
Yes. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 11?
Thanks again, Mayor Polito. This item is a discuss and file item and also contains an approval component. It's our mid-year budget review. We're a little bit about 7 months into the current fiscal year, which is FY 21-22. Our Administrative Services Director, Manuel Carrillo, has a presentation, but I'll just real quick answer a question that generally gets asked throughout my career when it comes to finances, and that, how are things looking? The right answer happens to be the answer that we have. They're looking as they're supposed to look. So the budget that was put together, that was reviewed by the City Council and approved by the City Council, the actuals are coming in right where they would be expected to be, and also any adjustments that have been approved by the council throughout the fiscal year have been included as well. And so everything looks, it never looks great, but it looks like it's supposed to look. And so with that, I will turn it over to Director Carrillo. Thank you, Manuel.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Mayor Pulido, Mayor Pro Tem Chavez, Council Members Flores, Cortez, and Barcena. This evening, I'll be providing an overview of the fiscal year 2022 mid-year budget. I'll do my very best to be concise and to the point and not ramble on with anything. So we'll begin here. Oh, there we go. Okay, we'll begin by looking into the operational activities of the Bicycle Casino, particularly the closures experienced over the course of the previous 2 fiscal years because of the COVID pandemic, which of course affected our region significantly. As you can see in this slide, the Bicycle Casino experienced significant closures in fiscal year 1920 and 2021. And on a positive note, we have fortunately seen no closures in the current fiscal year 21-22, despite experiencing significant spikes in the COVID cases regionally because of the Omicron variant. Up next, we have with this slide, excuse me, just my notes here, to provide some clarity. The reason that we place such an emphasis on the Bicycle Casino's activities is because of a significant component of the city's operating revenue. And of course, this revenue source is estimated to be about 50% of the city's overall operating revenue. And as we mentioned in the previous slides, the closures experienced in 1920 and 2021 resulted in significant losses never before seen. If we take a look at the table on the right, you'll see that the city of Bell Gardens experienced an estimated loss of $3 million in casino revenue for fiscal year 1920, and an estimated loss of $7.6 million in revenue for fiscal year 2021, bringing a total estimated loss of $10.6 million over the course of that 2-year time period. Now, as you recall, and as the city manager mentioned, ending of 2021, the federal government allocated American Recovery Plan Act funds, or ARPA funds, to municipalities across the country. The city of Bell Gardens was officially allocated approximately $10 million to be distributed equally over a 2-year period in fiscal year 20 and 21. And these funds, of course, are utilized to address the losses of revenue experienced because of the COVID pandemic. I would also like to provide a brief historical perspective on recent highs and lows experienced as it relates to the casino revenue. As you can see, as the lower portion of the screen, it reached a record high of 14.3 million in fiscal year 18-19. We are actually projecting an all-time high of 14.6 million at the end of the current 21-22 fiscal year. Now, this is attributed to the casino operating at full capacity, as well as strong revenue reporting up to this point in the fiscal year. To provide an example of the all-time low, which was 6.7 million in fiscal year 2021, which is of course because of the significant losses due to the COVID closures. Our next slide, here we have a look back at our adopted general fund budget for fiscal year 2021. In June of 21, we adopted a general fund budget, which projected revenues of $42,279,000 and expenditures of $35,058,000, which would lead us to a projected surplus or fund balance of $7,221,000. Now, budgeted revenues were up by $14.6 million compared to the previous year, of course, primarily due to increased ARPA federal funds, increases in add-on sales tax, state rent relief programs, as well as sales and use tax. Budgeted expenditures were up by $4.24 million compared to the prior year. Now, this is due primarily to increases in personnel services, contractual services, capital outlays, and departmental supplies. Here we have our revised budget figures for fiscal year 21-22. As previously mentioned, we had originally adopted revenues at $42,279,000 and expenditures at $35,058,000, with a projected fund balance of $7,221,000. Through June 30th of 22, we are projecting a revised forecasted revenue of $42,617,000, which is a projected increase of $338,000. We're also projecting forecasted expenditures of $35,975,000, which is a projected increase of $971,000. Now, as a result of these forecasted changes, we are projecting a slight reduction in the fund balance at 6/30/2022 from the originally adopted $7,221,000 to an updated $6,642,000. And below you'll see the illustration showing the changes in fund balance in recent history. On this slide, we look a bit more at the details surrounding the revenue projections through June 30th of 22. As mentioned previously, revenues are forecasted to increase by $338,000 over the originally adopted amount. This is primarily driven by increases in categories such as the bicycle club fees, motor vehicle in lieu, refunds and reimbursements, as well as the state rental programs. On this slide, we look at some of the categories that make up the increases in expenditure projections through June 30th of 22. As previously mentioned, expenditures are forecasted to be $917,000 more at 6/30/22 than originally adopted budget. We will look at some of these items in greater detail on the next slide. This slide addresses the increases in various categories that make up the forecasted $970,000 increase in expenditures. This includes increases in categories such as personnel costs. One of the key components being the increase as a result of the additional payouts pertaining to the new labor negotiation MOUs being reached with the various labor groups throughout the city. And items that, of course, an item that was not budgeted as part of the previous year's budget preparation, but was just recently adopted in this current fiscal year. Other categories include increases in maintenance and supplies, capital outlays. Of course, another significant category is that capital outlays, which have been approved by council throughout the year. These include the prefabricated restroom improvements, as well as other public works and facility improvements around the city. Our next slide, this slide focuses on increases / additional appropriations associated with non-general funds. The most significant being proposed increases as it relates to increased costs due to water purchases. Another being community development expenses associated with CDBG and COVID-related programs.
Manuel, if I can stop you and go back to that slide.
Sure, no problem.
So when looking at the city's overall financial condition, and then looking at the general fund financial condition, just reminding the council that the situation that we have with the water fund is one that's of utmost importance. It's one that we're continuing to work on, but you see this $924,000. What you're getting for that, from a sales side of things is the cleanest water that can be provided to the residents that are in the city's water system. It obviously comes at a cost. In the interim, we're looking at ways of cleaning the water well that we previously used. It's much less costly to pump water than it is to purchase water, surface water that comes from a water purveyor. The increased cost, though, you're seeing here is being absorbed and it's a significant amount, 924,000. So we continue working on that as a priority so that we can provide clean water and also bring that cost down.
Thank you. Our next slide focuses on the ongoing capital projects that are budgeted and are carried forward from the previous fiscal year 2021. These focus on various capital improvement projects associated primarily with public works and which of course the capital improvement fund, street projects, and the Ford Park Aquatic projects. Additionally, you'll see below the inclusion of the additional appropriations expenses approved by council as of 10/11/21 for the Cycle 8 intersection improvement projects. And this slide shows the projected fund balance at 6/30/22. Of course, this consists of taking the fund balance at the end of the 2021 fiscal year, which was 22,478,000, and adding the projected change in fund balance at 6/30/22 of 6,642,000, which leaves us at a projected 29,120,000 at 6/30/2022. This slide highlights some of the key areas of focus and continued fiscal monitoring as we continue to move towards the end of the fiscal year and towards the preparation and formulation of the budget for 22-23. Some of the main areas of concentration, of course, are the federal relief funds, which will be received at the end of 21-22. Casino revenue, as indicated, we're projecting a record high of 14.6 million. Which is 200,000 above the originally adopted amount. And of course, there is an ownership change which is expected to be completed by the end of the fiscal year, and we are not expecting any disruptions in revenue as a result of that. As the city manager indicated, of course, the costs associated with the increased water purchases as a result of the well. And then finally, the development impact fees, which of course our city staff is currently working on developing an impact fee process to help recover public costs for the development of some projects. And of course, the fees would offset the cost of facilities related to the development itself. And just to finalize, over the course of the next 4 months or so, the finance department staff will be working closely with the various city departments, staff council to prepare budgets for the next fiscal year 22-23. This will include a series of meetings, workshops, and information sessions to identify departmental needs, objectives, and finally to prepare a comprehensive budget that addresses the city's goals. Here are some tentative dates. Finance department will, of course, reach out to the respective parties to schedule these meetings as they approach over the next few months or so. And that is the presentation. I just wanted to conclude by thanking our finance department staff for their hard work and particularly our accounting manager, Reno Hansen, for helping to put so much of this information together. And I would like to thank everyone and the opportunity to present this evening. And if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. That is this conclude the presentation.
Does any member of the city council have any questions or comments? Okay, may I have a motion?
I'll go ahead and motion.
May I have a second?
Cortez seconds.
We have a motion and a second. City clerk, will you please conduct roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Sparcena,
Yes.
Cortez,
Yes.
Flores.
Yes, sorry.
Flores? Okay, sorry. Mayor Pro Tem Chavez
Yes.
and Mayor Polito.
Yes. Before we move on to public participation, we will take a 15-minute break and reconvene at 8:10.
September.
We are back. We will now, public participation is now open for items not listed on the agenda. City Clerk, please announce the instructions for the public participation.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 9 written comments that have been submitted. I'll go ahead and read the public participation instructions. The members of the public will have the opportunity now to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the mayor and city council. Each speaker and written comment will be read out loud after all speakers have been heard. Anyone wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by pressing *9 when instructed. Press *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature. I don't have any raised hands, but I have the written comments. Kind of to explain what these are, I'll go ahead and read what the individual sent over to us, to the city clerk's office. And this is, the following are written testimonies submitted by community members for the 12/9/21 and 3/12/22 public workshops on rent control. The first is a letter of support signed onto by business owners in the city, which you can also find attached in the PDF form. The remainder are personal testimony comments. And we're going to go ahead and start reading. We're going to time the individual testimonies to 3 minutes, so we'll have the clock on. Dear Bell Gardens City Council, we are business owners in the Bell Gardens community. We submit this letter of support of the Union de Vecinas and the community's demand for a strong rent control and just cause ordinance. This is not a landlord versus tenant issue. This is about human rights and moral integrity. It should not be legal for abusive landlords to push families out of the community or into the streets without just cause and purely for the sake of huge profits. Landlords have a right to fair return on their investments, and that is maintained under a rent control law. Rent control just limits the amount and frequency of increases so that renters can continue to budget for increased costs and afford to stay in their homes while landlords continue to adjust for changes in the budget, for changes in the cost of living. It helps renters keep money in their pockets to spend on the local economy, which helps businesses like ours stay open. Additionally, just cause measures help prevent unfair, cruel evictions. They do not protect tenants who fail to pay the rent or violate their leases from evictions. Landlords who do not take advantage of their renters are in favor of the rent control and just cause because it helps stabilize our community and keeps families and children safe in their homes. Community leaders like us who want to keep our communities whole, healthy, and safe are in support of these changes. We ask you to please stand by the community and pass rent control, just cause, and more protections for tenants. And it's included the name of the individuals that show support. We're going to keep it. Would you like me to read all the names, Mayor? It's 31 names.
Yes, for the remainder of the 3 minutes.
Pardon?
Yes, for the remainder of the 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one is Rafael Camarillo from El Torito. Second one, Jose Ramirez Lavenderia, Gage and Darwell. third one, Ignacio Ramirez, locksmith on Florence Avenue. The fourth is Lisbeth Macias, beauty salon on Florence Avenue. And 31 individuals that signed it, that is submitted to public record. My name is Wendy Escobar. I am a mother of three, two amazing caring boys and a little girl. As a parent, you know how amazing it feels to hear your kids say want to be something in this life, want to make a difference in their communities and go to college. But now 3 adults in the house work full-time, and it's not enough because every year in March, our rent is raised. So year after year, it is an uphill battle. It is hard for me to write this, but I ask that you look at the struggle this community goes through month after month and year after year. We need a break. We are tired, worn out of the never-ending situation with no rent, no relief in sight. Thank you for your time. The next one is from Ashley Cervantes. I have lived in Bell Gardens for 18 years. I asked the City Council to approve the Union de Vecinas recommendation, which include rent control of max 3% per year, just cause protections against unfair evictions, and create a rent board that will be in charge of implementing the new law. Gardens for 16 years. I asked the City Council to approve the Union de Vecinas recommendation, which include rent control of max 3% per year, just cause protections against unfair evictions, and create a rent board that will be in charge of implementing the new law. The next one is from Vicky Vertiz. Distinguished council members, neighbors, and city staff. My name is Vicky, and my family gardens for 45 years. I asked the City Council to approve the Union de Vecinas recommendation, which includes rent control maximum of 3% per year, just cause protections against unfair evictions, create a rent board that will be in charge of implementing the laws locally. I support these demands because we have experienced unjustified rent increases, bullying, false eviction attempts, and intimidation over these 45 years by our landlords. Our family is on rents, while our wages are stagnant. for units that have been maintained and supports just cause protection. Family is a renter family in Bell Gardens. And I, like many they are scared our landlord will increase our rent even more the next time. Live like this. I am asking the city to support and help with passing rent control efforts for the city and helping the families who keep city councils and more difficult for families to be able to stay in a stable home, or should I say in a stable address. Some families are barely able to get by, fearing the rent will increase and they will have to look for another place to live. Children get affected by these changes. I believe rent control is a great system that helps tenants keep that peace in mind, that their calculations will add up and they will be full budgetless. They would have a more successful budget list. Landlords also get affected by these changes. Faithfully and loyal tenants evacuate due to higher charges in rent consistently. I believe there should be a limit in how many times and how much they are able to raise the rent by every year. I hope this short message is enough to make an impact on someone. It takes one person to impact everyone and everything else. The next one is from Miguel Gutierrez. I support the Union de Vecinas and the laws they are pushing for. We need rent control because I work in a minimum wage job from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. and I'm barely able to get by. Gas prices are only going up, plus food and monthly bill. Hard, very hard, Monday through Friday. And the final one is from Francis Jacobo. Good afternoon, Councilman. I strongly believe that we need rent control in our city. With cost of living going up, it's hard to sustain a home while providing basic needs to loved ones. Despite living through a pandemic, my rent has been increased 2 times within the last 2 years. It's frustrating that there's an expectation to accept high rent while my landlord is being negligent of the building's needs. And that concludes the English written comments that were submitted.
And now we'll continue with the Spanish comments.
Testimonios personales. Número 1. Mi nombre es Silvia Hernández. He vivido en Bell Gardens durante 34 años. Yo le pido al concilio que apruebe las recomendaciones de la UDB, que incluye protecciones como control de rentas de no más de 3% cada año y cubrir todas las unidades legalmente permitidas, tales como departamentos, dúplex, trailers y más. Yo apoyo estas demandas porque yo también he sido una rentera más que mi dueño me subió la renta en el año 2021 $300 de un solo y no se me hace justo que sigan subiendo renta cada que los dueños quieran. Por eso apoyo a Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens. 2. Mi nombre es Delfina Padilla. Yo nací en Bell Gardens toda mi vida y he conocido esta ciudad. Amo vivir aquí. Yo le pido al concilio que apruebe las recomendaciones de Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens, que incluye protecciones como control de renta de no más del 3% cada año y aumentar las multas a los dueños que nos acosan o toman represalias en contra de inquilinos. Yo apoyo estas demandas porque tengo 2 hijos que conocen los parques de esta ciudad. Aman Bell Gardens al igual que yo, pero con estos aumentos de renta cada año, no sé si pueda seguir pagando. Han escuchado ellos que platicamos de cambiarnos de estado y mi hijo de 13 años se pone a llorar porque dice que su vida está aquí en California y la verdad siento tan mal que espero y los del concilio pasen esta ley. 3. Mi nombre es Juan Zarate. He vivido en Bell Gardens por 22 años. Yo le pido al concilio que apruebe las recomendaciones de la Unión de Vecinas, que incluye control de renta de no más de 3% y crear un registro de alquileres para asegurar que las unidades se estén manteniendo. Durante estos 22 años he visto cómo han aumentado la renta. En lo personal, llegué a un lugar a rentar y me pidieron $600 de depósito y el primer mes de renta. Era un lugar horrible, estaba lleno de cucarachas y era un lugar de 2 recámaras. El baño apenas lo usamos y se vino la jaladera del baño. Fue una mala experiencia. Viví ahí solo 5 meses. Y cuando me salí, supuestamente me iban a regresar el depósito, pero no lo hicieron. Y como uno es inmigrante, no sabemos qué hacer así, que ya no pedimos. Es por eso que yo apoyo estas demandas. 4. Mi nombre es María Cadena. He vivido en Bell Gardens por 17 años. Yo le pido al concilio que apruebe las recomendaciones de Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens, que incluye protecciones como control de renta de no más de 3% cada año y aumentar las multas a los dueños que nos acosen o tomen represalias en contra de los inquilinos. En esos 17 años que estoy viviendo en Bell Gardens y he vivido en 2 lugares, en el primero me aumentaron en un año $650 y ahora que vivo en apartamento me suben cada año $100 y es demasiado y todo está muy caro. Por eso me gustaría que pasaran esta ley de control de renta y por eso yo apoyo la Unión de Vecinas. 5. Mi nombre es María Martínez. He vivido en Bell Gardens durante 5 años. Yo le pido al concilio que apruebe las recomendaciones de la Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens, que incluye protecciones como control de renta de no más de 3% cada año y causa justa para protegernos en contra de desalojos injustos. Yo apoyo estas demandas porque cada 2 años nos están subiendo la renta un 10%. Incluso entrando enero de este año, nos volvieron a subir la renta 10%. Yo soy madre soltera y es bien difícil salir adelante cuando nos están subiendo la renta tan alta. 6. Mi nombre es Rosa González. He vivido en Bell Gardens durante 23 años. Yo le pido al concilio que apruebe las recomendaciones de la Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens, que incluye protecciones como control de renta de no más del 3% cada año y causa justa para protegernos en contra de desalojos injustos. Yo apoyo estas demandas porque el dueño entrando este año me subió $200 de renta. Para mí es mucho dinero, puesto que ahorita no estoy trabajando. 7. Mi nombre es Jerónimo Bailón. He vivido en Bell Gardens durante 50 años. Yo le pido al concilio que apruebe las recomendaciones de la Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens, que incluye protecciones como control de renta de no más de 3% cada año, causa justa por desalojos injustos y cubrir todas las unidades legalmente permitidas, tales como departamentos, dúplex, trailers y más. 8. Mi nombre es Moisés Borunda. He vivido en Bell Gardens durante 10 años. Yo le pido al concilio que apruebe las recomendaciones de la Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens, que incluye protecciones como control de renta de no más de 3% cada año, causa justa por desalojos injustos y cubrir todas las unidades legalmente permitidas, tales como departamentos, dúplex, trailers y más. 9. Mi nombre es Marina. Me gustaría que hubiera control de renta porque no es justo que la gente que no gana bastante pague los platos rotos, platos rojos. Todo está subiendo, pero los sueldos no suben. Hace como 3 años nos subieron la renta a $200 más por mes, que son $2,400 al año que pudieron ser usados para vivir mejor. Algunos dueños de casas nunca gastan nada en las casas. Deberían haber una asociación para que puedan entrar a los apartamentos o casas para inspeccionar en las condiciones en que están las viviendas, porque algunos dueños de casas buscan cualquier pretexto para subir las rentas. En mi caso, la persona que está a cargo de donde yo vivo nos ha subido la renta $50 por año los últimos 2 años, pero su mamá, que en paz descanse, nos subía $100 por año y la última vez fueron $200, pero nunca se le han hecho arreglo a las casas. Espero que me entiendan. Otros comentarios. Hola, mi nombre es María y estoy apoyando a la Unión de Vecinos porque amo Bell Gardens, pero con el excesivo aumento de renta, tal vez uno tenga que emigrar de Bell Gardens.
Mayor Polito, if I can make a comment briefly about these non-agendized public comments. So the comments that were received written in Spanish and that were read in Spanish will be converted and translated on the documents into English as well. So it'll be part of the record in Spanish and in English for those that may look towards these documents that don't speak Spanish. Thank you.
This week, and we did have testimony as well. So we're trying to do everything we can as a city to make sure that we tune into the needs of our community. And I want to encourage you guys to continue to be vocal about this and continue to be involved. Whether you're involved as a tenant or any other aspect of city government, I think it's essential that you provide your feedback, because that's progress for the city. If we don't hear what's going on with you, if we don't hear how the residents are doing, then what are we really doing? So thank you for those that submitted a public comment. Thank you for all the staff that helped put together the rent control workshop that we had. It's very complex because we translated it and we have panelists that come from various sources. We have scholars that share their knowledge. We have people from the real estate business provide their insight. So we try to keep a balanced outlook. And we, at the same time, we continue to listen to our community. So we had that workshop, everything went well, and we are going to
we really hear you out, and it's so important that you continue to be involved and know that your council is here for you. I know sometimes it's a little scary, but we're here for you guys. And with that, everybody have a lovely evening, and we'll see you soon.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez.
Thank you so much for that. Briefly, I do want to share some of the activities that I've been up to within these past 2 weeks since our last council meeting. Wednesday, March 2nd, the pleasure of attending Contract Cities legislative tour. Got to meet with our Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia, along with various other senators and assembly members throughout the region, including Assemblymember Wendy Carrillo, Senator Student Rubio, Assemblymember Mike Gibson, and Senator Bradford, among others. We got to discuss various issues, including homelessness, housing, affordability, policing, and various other topics. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet with our state senator, Lina Gonzalez, due to schedule conflict. However, I will be meeting with her in our city soon, so I look forward to showing her around Bell Gardens. Friday, March 4th, I had the pleasure of attending Ms. Sarmiento's Cesar Chavez 5th grade class. I got to read a book called Dreamers by Yugi Morales. It's an amazing story that dictates the journey that Yugi Morales had to go through being undocumented in this country and navigating the journey being an immigrant, well, with being a single mother as well. The students loved the story, and teachers even mentioned that they would request to have the book in their school library, so I was pretty happy about that. Monday, March 7th, I had the pleasure of attending the 710 Ad Hoc Committee through the Gateways COG. We got to hear about the COG Transportation Initiative, which included projects throughout the that were nexus with the 710 corridor. We saw the Complete Streets projects across major intersections. We saw a strategic transportation plan that was compiled by all jurisdictions throughout the Gateway Cities COG. The presentation included our very own Florence corridor, and it also mentioned the very new West Santa Ana Branch Transportation Initiative. This last weekend, we had a rent control public workshop. Really glad to have attended. I attended for a little bit. I was glad to see the amount of attendance that our community, the amount of folks that showed up through our community. It goes to show the turnout and the interest of importance when it comes to this issue of rent control. And I hope to continually see the community active, not just on this issue of rent control, but the rest of the issues that we tackle as a council. Finally, this leads me to today. I'm currently in the National League of Cities here in Washington, D.C. conference. It's actually about to be 12 o'clock midnight. I'll tell you, it's really cold out here in DC. I didn't expect it. My sweater just doesn't cut it. I should have brought a coat. We just completed day one. We still have 2 more days left out here in the conference. Today was a busy day. I got to attend general open session. Got to hear from various elected officials located throughout the U.S. Got to attend a session on homelessness. I got to listen to Susan Rice, Ambassador Susan Rice, Secretary Pete Buttigieg, and finally hear from our very own President Joe Biden. Aside from hearing from various elected officials, I got to meet with the Department of Energy and discuss various programs that are available for communities like ours when it comes to rebates on electric vehicles and solar, the exploration of solar for our community that's mostly made up of renters like ours. In these next 2 days, I'll be meeting with 2 other departments, including the Department of Transportation, Department of Housing and Urban Development, along with both of our senators, Senator Alex Padilla and Senator Dianne Feinstein, along with our Congresswoman Lucia Roybal Eller, to discuss various issues facing our city, Bell Gardens, along with other communities throughout Southeast Los Angeles. One of those being the very, very crisis of our water issue, right? We just heard in our mid-year budget review the impact that it's costing us financially when it comes to importing water, right? So that's an issue that I'm constantly advocating for. And I look forward to bringing more initiatives to our community. With that said, that concludes my council member comments. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No comments from me except for thank you for staff for putting together all the reports and keeping us updated and educated in regards to all the items on the agenda. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will adjourn the City Council meeting at 8:45. Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.